The most famous sentence in money, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, was never said by Albert Einstein. There is no record of it anywhere in his letters, his lectures, or his archives. The Einstein connection first appeared in 1983. 28 years after Einstein died, his name showed up attached to that sentence, in an advertisement. The eighth wonder line itself was invented decades earlier, in the 1920s, by the marketing departments of American banks. Think about that. The foundation quote of modern investing advice is a bank commercial wearing a genius costume. And it worked. The line sells a beautiful idea that money grows itself, effortlessly, while you sleep, into a fortune. Here is the uncomfortable truth this video is about. The math of compounding is completely real, and most people will never benefit from it. Not because the formula fails, because the formula has 4 hidden requirements, and the advertisement never mentions any of them. By the end, you will also meet a janitor who quietly beat almost every professional investor in America. But first, you need to see the real shape of the curve, because the shape is where the trap lives. The math itself is ancient and honest. Put 1 grain of rice on a chessboard square, then double it on every next square. Long before the last square, the kingdom owes more rice than it could grow in centuries. Doubling always ends in absurdity. Money doubles the same way. $10,000 growing at 7% becomes roughly $295,000 over 50 years. But look closer at when that growth actually arrives, because this is what the advertisement never shows you. 10,000 at 8% becomes only 22,000 after 10 years. A decade of discipline, 12,000 in profit. After 20 years, 49,000. Still nothing that changes a life. The account looks like a disappointment for decades. Then the curve bends. After 40 years, that same 10,000 has become roughly $250,000. More than half of everything arrives in the final stretch. The big leverage comes late, brutally, almost insultingly late. Your brain hates this. We think in straight lines, so we feel the boring decades and quit before the bend. That is trap number 1. The reward is real but backloaded. Trap number 2 is hiding in your paycheck. Compounding multiplies whatever you feed it. Feed it almost nothing, and it faithfully multiplies almost nothing. $200 a month invested for 40 years becomes roughly $700,000. Sounds wonderful, until you check the alternative. $1,000 a month over the same 40 years becomes roughly $3.5 million. 5 times the input, 5 times the mountain. The formula never made anyone rich who could not feed it. The savings rate, not the interest rate, does the heavy lifting early on. And time is the other ingredient nobody can buy back. Start at 25 and the curve gets 40 working years to bend. Start at 45 and you arrive at the bend just as your working life ends. Same formula, half the wonder. Now look at reality. The median American between 55 and 64 has about $185,000 saved for retirement. That sounds substantial, until you calculate that it covers roughly 2.5 years of ordinary spending. For half the population, the eighth wonder of the world never showed up. The inputs were never there to compound. But here is the darker part. Even people with money and time still lose. Because the third enemy is their own hands. Every year, a research firm called Dalbar measures what investors actually earn against what the market they invested in earned. In 2024, the S&P 500 returned just over 25%, a spectacular year. The average equity fund investor earned 16.5. They stood in the winning casino and still left 8.5 points behind. It was the second largest gap of the decade, and the cause was not the market. It was behavior. Investors pulled money out in every single quarter of the year, and the biggest withdrawals came right before the strongest surge. The same reflex fired in March 2020, when markets fell 30% and panicked sellers locked in the loss forever. The recovery that followed set record highs. The people who sold watched it from the sidelines, in cash. Even small interruptions are savage. Withdraw 5,000 after 10 years, and 40 years later, your total is 55,000 smaller. Every interrupted dollar takes its entire future family with it. Compounding punishes exits 11 times harder than they feel. So who actually lets the curve finish its work? Two men, one famous, one invisible, show exactly what it takes. Warren Buffett is worth over $120 billion, the number nobody quotes. 99% came after his 50th birthday. At 30, he had his first million. At 56, his first billion. The last doublings did almost all the work. His own explanation is almost offensive in its simplicity. The biggest thing about making money is time. You do not have to be particularly smart, he says. You just have to be patient. Now the invisible one. Ronald Reed pumped gas and swept floors as a janitor in a small Vermont town. He drove a second-hand car and fixed his worn coat with safety pins. Neighbors thought he was poor. When he died in 2015, at 92, his estate was worth $8 million. His method fits on an index card. Of every $50 he earned, he invested 40. He bought boring blue chip stocks, soap, toothpaste, banks, and then did the hardest thing in finance: nothing. He held them for decades, through crashes, recessions, panics, and every headline that screamed sell. He simply did not interrupt. A janitor out-compounded the professionals, not with secret knowledge, but with the 4 inputs: money fed in, time, discipline, and stillness. Which is the real formula the bank advertisement should have printed, and the reason it never would. So here is compounding with the marketing stripped off. The math. Math is real. The wonder is real. The lie is the word effortless. Compound interest is not a money machine. It is a character test with a payout schedule. It demands savings you must fight to free up, decades you cannot fast forward, and a stillness your own brain resists. It makes patient people rich slowly, and it quietly makes impatient people poorer, through fees, exits, and interrupted doubling. If you remember one image, make it the curve. Flat, 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 then vertical. Every quitter leaves during the flat part. The most valuable doubling of your entire life is the last one. It only happens if all the boring ones survive. Einstein never called it the 8th wonder of the world, but somewhere a patient janitor in Vermont proved it might be. Money grows slowly and shrinks fast. Next time, inflation, the quiet machine that decides what your salary is actually worth.